evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, dear scholars. Good evening to everyone. Welcome tonight. I would like to welcome you in this session, this leadership session, this leadership masterclass that is taking place tonight. My name is Mazwe Majola. I'm from the Worldwide Institute of Leadership and Development. We do this every Wednesdays. We assemble together as leaders. We come together to encourage each other, to inspire each other, to correct each other, to admonish each other, and to learn from each other. As we always say here, that we meet here to learn, to unlearn, to relearn, and to co-learn. Because as leaders, you just can't sit on your laurels and think that now you are in charge or in the position of leadership. Therefore, you have arrived. So we've realized that actually leadership is a journey. Leadership is not a destination. Great leaders constantly develop themselves and empower themselves. That's why every Wednesdays we meet here as leaders, as scholars, and just talk to each other and empower each other. This is a community of leaders. It's where leaders talk to other leaders. Because almost everyone who's here is a leader or are leaders from different areas. So we meet here every Wednesdays. We encourage each other. We inspire each other, and we discuss leadership, because everything revolves around leadership. If we can just fix that, maybe ourselves, as we always say, that leadership starts from within, starts with you, that we'll be able to lead ourselves better and to lead others better, to lead our families better, our institutions better, our communities, our companies, and our countries. Wherever we are involved, we'll be able to lead better. So that is why we come here. This is a masterclass. Every Wednesdays we are here and we are just discussing leadership. So thank you so much to our members and to our regulars, those men and women who are here almost every Wednesdays. We learn a lot from each other. As you know, last week we were here, we learned. Previous week we were here, we learn. Next week we'll be here, we are learning. Because we just learn every Wednesday. So thank you so much for keep on coming here, and we learn from you. And a special welcome to those colleagues who are joining us for the first time. If we are here for the first time, thank you so much. We are so welcome. And please do feel at home, do participate. This is a safe space. It's a community of leaders. As long as we are here, we are a leader. We'd like to learn from you. So indeed, do participate wherever possible. Thank you so much. Tonight, I'm not going to waste any time. It's cold, and we are all here. Looking forward to hear from our special guest, who is going to address us, my dear sister Ayanda Mafuleka. Ayanda is part of this furniture here. Some of you may not see her every Wednesdays, but she has really participated and assisted us in many different forms. She has been to almost all our conferences, and she has moderated all our conferences. She has participated in our books that we've written before. So she's part of WILD, but obviously because of her busy schedule, she may not be with us every Wednesdays, but she's not really a visitor here. So, as you know, Ayanda Mafuleka is the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Accounting Services SETA, which is called Facet. That is where she is. She's involved there, and of course she's a great leader who's worked in public sector and private sector. She's a CA. She sits in many different boards. And yeah, we've learned a lot from her. Personally, I've learned a lot from her, whether speaking or facilitating or moderating. But really, she is leading this very big institution Facet. I've been very privileged and fortunate to be involved with Facet somehow, because in the university where I teach, they say they send you so many. So they've got a very big women program where really I mean when you go there during graduation, it's unbelievable, it's incredible, where you just see all these women, lot of women executives and managers who are CAs and accountants together who are sponsored by Facet. So they are really doing a great work there and a great job there. Sis Ayanda, thank you so much, my sister. As I said, I know that we are busy. I saw somewhere in my intelligence that you are just fresh from Harvard University. So congratulations for the program that you've done there. And yeah, that's what I just said. That leaders, they keep on constantly develop themselves. There's no time where you will say, now I've arrived, therefore I don't have to learn or to develop myself. So thank you so much. I'm not going to waste any time, my sister. Here are the people, you know this platform. Here we've got academic from different universities, you've got politicians, you've got members of the media, you've got executives from public sector, from private sector, you've got religious leaders, community leaders, professionals from all walks of, all leaders are here. This is just a community of leaders. As you know, we are leaders in leadership. So here are your people. You can just address us. For those who are joining us for the first time, we will allow the speaker to address us, and then after that, we then engage. We'll engage each other in the conversation. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sis Ayanda. Thanks, my sister.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, esteemed leaders. It is very cold, so this is just a discussion, on leadership. And really, I want to thank you, Ndabezitha, for the opportunity tonight to spend time with the leaders, sharpening one another. After so much hesitation, I know that the invite has always been extended to me, but we are the leaders that continue to learn. I like to believe now that it is the time is opportune for me then to give back to what the leaders in this forum, in this community, have been teaching me, and really I have been empowered. So it is called today. So please grab your cup of coffee, tea, and just let engage. Really, so really, this is not. I'm not gonna keep you that long, but just let also have just that the discussion. As Undabezitha have said, my name is Ayanda Mafuleka. Ngingundinisa-ke mina, ngingubikwayo, ngingumzomba, Maxoba Zintuli. So I hail from KZN, eMlazi. So ngiyintombi yaseMlazi, intombi kagogo. I always pay homage to my grandmothers, the paternal and the maternal grandmothers, because I am here where I am because of women, because of them, and a host of women as well, and allies as well, men. I mean, I have uncles and dads as well that have been there, sharpen me as a leader, to today. So I want to say Happy Youth Month to the youth and young leaders in this platform. I am not that young anymore, but I'm definitely young at heart. So without wasting much time, so please do grab a cup of coffee to keep warm. So the discussion that I would like us to explore, to tonight is visionary leadership during the time of turmoil. So we will live in a time of unrelenting turbulences and crises, one crisis after another. One moment you are navigating inflation, high unemployment. The next, it's global conflict crisis, strained diplomatic relations, you know what I'm talking about, service delivery, mental issues, leadership crisis, leadership betrayals, you name them. Despite all of this, we are called to lead. Not just lead, but to lead with vision, to lead with intention, to lead sometimes while bleeding. So there's a term or a concept from a colleague of mine, one of the CEOs from the CETAs, who's anticipating writing a book, and she was as we were talking about this, she coined this term leading whilst bleeding. So we are called to lead even during those times of bleeding. So this discussion is not just about visionary leadership, but it is about visionary leadership during turmoil, which is a rare and a very difficult leadership skill to master. So walk with me. So this talk really is inspired by one of the Harvard Business School case studies that I got to tackle last week as I attended the Harvard Business School for my 1 year long leadership fellowship with Harvard as well as INSEAD business schools. So this case study is still fresh in my mind. So it is the story of Sir Ernest Shackleton. Maybe some of you have heard of him. It is the story about him and his failed expedition in 1914. So this story still burns with relevance today. So just a quick background, about Sir Ernest Shackleton. Really, he was no ordinary explorer. So in 1914, he set out to cross the Antarctic continent on foot. Abang, something that has never been done nor attempted before. So his ship that was called Endurance was to carry him and his 27 men across into the icy unknown, so across Antarctic. But the name of his ship, listen to this, it was called Endurance, which proved prophetic, and you will soon know why. So Antarctic is very cold, guys, as you know, it is very icy there. So the ship became trapped in the ice of the Weddella Sea. So there's somewhere there up there in the Antarctic, region. So the men, the 28 of them, they got stuck there on ice for months. No rescue in sight, no GPSs, no radio contact, no helicopters to come to your rescue, no hope. All that was there, it was just them and the ice. So Shackleton then hoped that the summer maybe it will melt, the ice and free the ship. But weeks passed, nothing happened. The ice didn't melt. Instead, the ice gripped tightly on the ship. So after about 10 months or so, whilst the ship was locked in the ice, the ship was finally destroyed, gone, and lost beneath the frozen surface. So, and yet, though, not even a single man died after have been stuck for 10 months. So they survived as the story continued. Really, just let me just quickly be brief, just be brief on it. So they survived for about 490 odd days, which was nearly two years, really surrounded by nothing but the sea of ice and the weight of despair. Temperatures dropped even further. They were living in tents. They were hunting seals and penguins for food. And really, they were using what was remaining of the shipwreck, like lifeboats that were there to carry the few supplies that they have along the way, because they were trying really to get to a safer place where they could be rescued. So if you read the story further, so there were numerous attempts to find help and about their survival tactics, and that were led by Shackleton. Really, Shackleton, in the story, you get the appreciation of the leader that, he became during this turmoil. So the bottom line is that Shackleton didn't complete his mission, which was initially to cross Antarctica. So he never made it there. But he brought every single one of his 27 men home alive after nearly 2 years. So he is celebrated as one of the greatest leaders in history. Why? Because in the midst of utter turmoil, Shackleton led with a renewed and redefined vision during the time of turmoil when all things were against them. So, before we can draw lessons then, from this story, let us define this enemy turmoil. What do we understand, of it? It's not just any minor challenge. It is not just chaos, but it is a state of deep disturbance, disorder, uncertainty, deep discomfort, disorientation, whatever you call it. I mean, it's a state. Have you ever felt like the ground is shifting beneath your feet? It's that state where really you don't know what to do. I mean, we can talk of organizational turmoil. We have experienced it as leaders in our different workplaces. For instance, where there is a leadership crisis, a scandal, financial collapse, we have seen this, around us as well. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. And some of us also have gone through personal turmoils. I mean, a collapse of a marriage or a relationship, a loss of a loved one, depression, burned out. I know most leaders can relate to this. Being burned out, by the way, it is not a badge of honor. So, I mean, we've gone through traumas, existential crises, and the like. So, visionary leadership is easy on a clear day. But what do you do when the ice closes in? What do you do when that state of disturbance closes in? So now, before also we go further, let's ground ourselves in the concept of visionary leadership, which is at the heart of this talk. So, what is visionary leadership? Briefly, really, it is the capacity to see beyond the now as a leader, where you get a glimpse of a future that does not yet exist. Articulate that future with conviction, with faith, and inspire others to pursue it, even when the path is not clear or uncertain. So really, it is the courage to see clearly when others are clouded by panic. It is that discipline to lead consistently when nothing else is consistent. It is stealing the term from Mpho Mokapile. It is when leading whilst you are bleeding. So a visionary leader doesn't just have that foresight. They have both the insight as well and the hindsight. So that they are able to connect the past, interpret the present, and provoke the future. Importantly, though, vision is not the prediction, but it is the purpose projected forward. So, visionary leaders are not izangoma bakithi. but they are able to, to project forward and make people see, feel, touch, and smell, that glimpse of the future. So during turmoil, what then distinguishes a visionary leader from the rest? So the visionary leader really stays focused when others react, speaks truth when others spin. It creates possibilities. Visionary leaders, they create possibilities when others collapse. So, what am I saying of this? I mean, let's not even go so far. Think of Nelson Mandela emerging from prison, not with vengeance or hatred, but with a vision of reconciliation during the time of turmoil, of violence and killings in the country, at that time. So, like Shackleton, sorry, not Mark Shackleton, Shackleton, whom we are to turn to now, became a visionary leader as well during turmoil. So, let's then unpack how Shackleton led during chaos or during this deep turmoil, this deep disturbance. So, this visionary leadership of his is not just in concept, but it is in action. So, a true visionary like him, your vision must become your anchor during the time of deep dependence. So a true visionary adjusts the form of the vision without abandoning its spirit. So the goalpost, yes, can move, but the vision and the purpose cannot. So when the expedition failed, Shackleton redefined the vision. It was no longer to cross Antarctica, but it was now that every man, 27 of them, comes home alive. Second, a key takeaway from this case study, as I ponder on it, is visionary leaders in times rather of turmoil, they are judged not by strategy, but by humanity. It's human first, strategy later, or strategy second, or mission second. So in this instance, I mean, when you read, in the story, he came up with human task, just to keep the morale of the team going. For instance, he memorized their birthdays of all 27 of them, and he would check on them daily on their mood, how they were feeling. And at times, he made tough calls to save the morale of his team and in the best interest of all 27 men. Thirdly, no room for false hope. So, a visionary leader during a time of turmoil must tells the truth, but it tells it with courage, not despair, tells it with hope. I mean, in this case study, Shackleton never sugarcoated the danger. I mean, everyone could see that, the probabilities of survival, they were slim. But he never sugarcoated that, but he always radiated calm. And then, lastly but not least, personal sacrifice or personal sacrifices. So a visionary leader bleeds with his people during the time of turmoil. Bleed with them, not above them, but with them. So in this instance, Shackleton, when the food supplies really ran low, he will give up his, share. He always made sure that he was the first one to take risks to protect his team. So he protected his team. And lastly, that I just want also just to point, which is also linked to human first, mission second. It's strategic improvisation. That a visionary leader exercising visionary leadership in turmoil is less about genius, being knowing it all, but more about adaptive resilience, being resilient. I mean, in this instant, Shackleton encouraged and make sure that they constantly invented new ways to survive. I mean, they didn't have much at their disposal, but for them to survive nearly 2 years, it was every day, there was new invention, how to survive. At some point, they would wake up in the morning and will say, let's have a concert, let's dance, just to keep warm. So I just want us then to bring it to visionary leadership lessons for today. Yes, Shackleton's story, it is not about the snow or about the ice and so forth. It also it is about the storms and the turmoil we all face. Yes, we are facing different, snows or turmoil as today's leaders. For instance, I mean, we are going through global economy, that freezes innovation. There are political winds that change with every tweet. Uzwa yesterday, they were at each other. Today they kiss and make up. All, in the tweets. Niyazi ukuthi ngikhuluma ngani. So, we are facing different kind of turmoil, even in internal organizational aspects, organizational issues in terms of culture, morale, ethics. Even churches, by the way, there's a lot of turmoil going on. So today I want to leave you as leaders with the following 5 principles for today's turmoil. How, as visionary leaders, and how, as people or leaders that aspire to be visionary, what we can do during time of turmoil. Just 5, and also linked to the case study that I've cited. 1, we cannot we cannot remain stagnant in a sense that one principle is we must redefine our vision. So redefine your vision even mid-journey. Never abandon your vision during turmoil, but keep on redefining it. Second principle, center your leadership on empathy, compassion, and have that humane and compassionate posture. I mean, I am fresh from watching a movie by Tyler Perry called Straw. So really, I emphasize this. So that is why I'm emphasizing this. So please, if you have not watched it, please do watch it. Thirdly, tell the truth and never compromise on the truth or on integrity. But as you do so, always give hope. We listen to news, we read newspapers. I mean, you'll find that what we see and we read, 80% of it's negative, and we are in a state of turmoil one way or the other as a nation, as a global community as well. But we must never shine away from telling the truth, harsh as it is, but we must always give hope. Fourthly, we must lead visibly, consistently, and sacrificially. So as a visionary leader during turmoil, your leadership must be visible. Shackleton ensured that daily he did a check on or check in with his men, exercising visibility. Because if as a leader, you are not visible, the people that you are leading, they're going to panic. Lastly, innovate under pressure. Continue to be creative. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Come up with new ways of doing, things. Even you're under pressure, even, during the time of turmoil. Don't wait until, their perfect condition. So I want to bring it back then and turn the compass inward. My personal journey where I've led with a vision through turmoil. What has been my personal journey where I have led through a turmoil? Well, there were moments in my own journey as well, both public and deep private, where I stood on ice, obviously, metaphorically speaking, where the title didn't shield me. The blazer or the skirt that I wore didn't warm me. The boardroom was cold in its own way. But how does my turmoil look like? I mean, as a leader, briefly, I mean, I am not going to bore you with, the challenges and the situations that I've gone through. But my turmoil in one way or the other have looked like when I have been leading an institution and turning it around from the brink of performance collapse, whilst fighting off internal sabotage, politics, you name it. And I've seen my turmoil have also looked like in instances where I will make critical decisions, unpopular decisions in the midst of too much noise. Some of the leaders in this forum, they might have picked up that in the past 5 months, I've gone through a professional turmoil as well, where I was given an opportunity to go and do some gardening, plant spinach. So those as well. But did it deter me from the vision? Was my vision lost? I mean, other my turmoil also have looked like, feeling the isolation that women leaders, they know this too well as well, where you are being the only in the room, or even the first, or sometimes being the target. So our turmoils might look differently as well. I mean, also, I mean, from the private perspective, where I have navigated a failed marriage that shook my sense of self-worth whilst being expected to hold it together, professionally, you can't crack. So, the grief, the betrayal, the burnt out. So the storms most beneath the blazer or our skirts. So your turmoil might not look like mine, but as leaders, we have gone through, such turmoils, deep, a disturbance in our professional lives, private lives, and so forth. But I want to assure you that in those moments, I held on to the vision. Not a title, not a trophy, but my vision of leaving a legacy. A legacy of lifting others as I lead. A legacy that screams, I am not here to cross Antarctica. I am here to ensure no woman leader, or any leader for that matter, walks this frozen terrain alone. As I come to a close, esteemed leaders, visionary leadership in a time of turmoil is not a grand theory. It is a quiet decision made in the cold to see beyond the storm, to serve amid suffering, and to still believe in the impossibility. Shackleton never reached his original goal of crossing Antarctica, but he fulfilled his greatest mission of a redefined vision of preserving human life and dignity under impossible odds. So, when the ice closes in on your ship, esteemed leader, ask not how to escape, but how to lead. Our country, this nation, will do much better under visionary leadership, so that when it's even go through turmoil, we are not going to lose a vision as a nation. I thank you. Thank you.
Wow, you, Sis Ayanda, thank you. Just wanted to listen and listen and listen, because really what you said tonight, each and every, I want to believe that each and every leader who's here would be, would know or can identify with that situation of leading while we are bleeding, whether currently or it's something that once happened or it's still going to happen. But as long as we are leader, as long as we are in this leadership journey, you will definitely be confronted with such. So thank you so much for inspiring us and equipping us how to lead visionary while we are facing storm, because they will be there, definitely. And thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's the time to engage our speaker, Sis Ayanda. So you can do that by raising your hand, or you can do that by writing on the chat room. Obviously, always invite and encourage leaders to speak if you are able to, because this way we can at least hear you and learn from you. Let's just see what is there in the chat room. Your Tulisile saying your speech has touched me. Kindly share the link. So, and then there's so many acknowledgement there. Pomilu Tuli, wow, Ayanda Ngwabi, wow, and so forth and so forth. Oh, wow, from Tabi. So indeed, as I'm saying that, it's just those things that we do need to hear as leaders. Sometimes, not that models and frameworks and theories are not important, are important, but at this level, we just need that thing from that will touch our hearts, because we are going through a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, really, uh, 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 for that wonderful speech there. So let me just ask while our leaders are coming, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, we uh, on chat room here. So, or rather, sorry, we are. So there's so many things that are disturbing me here. You'll notice that tonight, for whatever reason, in the settings there, have allowed people that have to admit people for something that we normally don't do. So I apologize for that, especially for those who were sitting there in the in that room wanting to be admitted. So we will sort it out. So it's just setting settings for whatever reason. I don't know what happened, but we'll sort it out. What happened? So you can see that people are keep on coming, joining to be admitted for something that we've passed that. We don't do that anymore in this platform because of us for certain reasons. Ayanda, or Sis Ayanda, yes, visionary leadership. You've got someone to have a vision, picture a future where you want to take your people to. And indeed, it's not easy. The people who are um, uh, uh, insulting you, people who are gossiping about you, criticizing you, and say all sorts of things. What would be your advice to us as leaders in terms of how to lead difficult people? You know, those people who at times they will keep on reminding you that, you know, during Mr. Soren so he used to do things like this, or she used to do things like this, and you know, just to want to feel that there's someone who was better than you. And there's many other areas as well. Maybe someone who is older than you, or someone who may be more experienced than you, or maybe someone who's more educated than you, or someone. So you've been given this position, but there are these different categories of people that you must manage or lead. What are your your advice there, your guidance, Sis Ayanda? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tabezita. Um, Actually, the question is open to all the other scholars, you know, as well. So, and actually, that is a very, valid question. And I'm also just taking also lessons, from this case study, as well, because as a leader, yes, you do come across such. I mean, in my journey, I have come across such, and I'm still dealing, with such, as well. Well, the makeup of a team, unfortunately, it is different people. In a sense that some, it will take time for them to buy into your vision. What I like about visionary leadership is the vision is with the vision bearer. And as a leader, by the way, that should be normal. That the team, your team members or the people that you are leading might not warm up to your vision at first, because remember, they were not given the vision. They don't have the vision. You are the vision bearer. But as a leader, take that as a challenge, as a lesson, and also to make sure that you go to each one of them. Ubafunze, uma ngithi ubafunze, don't impose, but get a buy-in. Make them understand, where we are going. Because it takes a leader to influence. And it takes a leader to give direction and walk with them, because abanye bayaxathula, abanye they are quick, to run with it. So that is why it is important that you cannot always lead from the front or always lead from the back, or you lead from all angles, because you need to take yourself as together with the team, go through the 497 days of turmoil, and make sure that you get them to the other side alive. For me, that is very important, because there shouldn't be any casualties along the journey, and everyone must journey to the other side. There'll be noise, as I've said, because you are not leading stones, you are leading people. So that is why it takes a leader to stay true to the vision and communicate it and run, with it. And I have been in instances, by the way, where the team members, they're older than me. They are even more educated than me. Actually, not educated in the sense that who are specialists in their own, way. So as a leader, you give yourself time to listen, learn from them, as well. So, but I want to say, you don't wake up as a leader or as a visionary leader. It is a journey, as well. You lead as you go, I mean, before going to Harvard, or before, going through the case studies that I went through when I was there, the difference between that time and now, it is different, because you get empowered as well. So I am saying to the person that is listening here, who's also grasping with the, with this concept, to say, how do I become a visionary? How do I make sure that I keep my team, I don't want to say keep your team happy, but keep your team engaged and also running with, your vision. I want to tell somebody to say, it is a journey. It is a journey. Be patient, lead. I mean, learn as you go along. Last thing that I want to say is, and I think it is something that I've also learned, and I mean, I learned it as a joke, that be concerned if you are a leader that is liked. You are not there to sell ice cream. So there will be unpopular decisions that you will not take. I mean, that you will take, that you will not be popular for, that you will not be liked for. But what is important is staying true to who you are, staying true to the vision, staying true to the values, as well. So, I mean, I can even open it to the other scholars and other leaders, maybe if they also have an input on this as well. But never be discouraged. Continue, nursing that vision and redefining it.
Thank you very much, my sister. Thanks a lot. Great stuff
Yes.
there. Thank you. Um, I saw some hands. I think the first one was Sis Noma Lungelo. I hope I saw a hand from the deputy minister there, Dr. Noma Lungelo Kina, and then she will be followed by Sol Hadebe, and then my sister there, Ketu Mpofana. In that order, please. Then Sis Ayanda
Yeah.
will respond. Dr. Nomalunga, my sister.
Thank you so much, Prof. And good evening to Sis Ayanda
Good
and all the
evening, Sis
scholars,
Nomalungelo.
all the scholars in the platform. Good evening. Sis Ayanda, thank you very much for what you have shared with us today. I also carry the same sentiment to those who are saying, really, you touched the nerve. Hello? Oh, okay. You really touched the nerve of us as leaders today. I think we can all relate, and it resonates with us all here, what you have shared with us. I just want to touch on what you have said, Sis Ayanda, and I think I just loved it when you said, make sure that if you're a visionary leader, a thoughtful leader, you have got that empathy, you sympathize, and you make sure that you carry everyone along and try to avoid casualties on the way. But also seated here listening, Sis Ayanda, I say it's quite a very difficult thing to be a leader. The balancing action that you need to have to strike as a leader, really, it's what it's what make those mental institutions to be as full as they are these days. And when you visit them, it's flooded by these people that are in this platform, the professionals, those we think they are the elites. But really, when we fail to strike that balance, it can drive you straight to those institutions. That takes me back to what we have said, is to say, and we need to avoid having casualties. That's to say, most of the time, you try by all means to carry them on your shoulders, but unfortunately, most of the time, you become the casualty yourself. You end up suffering. The most biggest casualty becomes you as a leader. I will make an example, people in the platform.
Yes.
Pardon me if what I'm going to be saying won't sit well with some of you. I would just want to make a very practical example on the recent incident that happened, where a leader, really, you feel that is a leader, but you carry these people every day. Sometimes to strike that balance, you are also a human being, and it becomes very difficult where you cross the line, because when it comes to how you control your temper, how you manage your anger, sometimes that human element will come up, and I can tell you, you can bend the whole nation. Let me make an example of, in the Senzo case, that judge really, well, let's not take sides. I'm not taking sides. It's just an example. It's a case study that is, we all know. For me, I felt so sorry for that man, for that judge. You could feel, I tried to put myself in his shoes, as to say, he was trying to balance, to say, I'm a leader here. I need to lead. I need to make sure that the task at hand, we take it to the end. But also the element, Sis Ayanda, that you are coming up with, we must have empathy. You must take those that we lead on our shoulders, cushion them, and, and I'm telling you, most of us, we find ourselves being thrown out of the window just because there was a very thin line, and we just missed a step in balancing those two. That will make us a leader where everyone will say, indeed, this is a leader who is tried and tested, who has passed and ticked the boxes. Because all the time, if you're a leader, someone is there to tick a box, as to say, yeah, Ayanda, I've tested her. The box is being ticked. So, as I'm saying, you have touched on so many things, really, where we all need to go back and reflect, as to say, when we say, how do we make sure that we have got that courage, and we see clearly where others are engulfed with confusion and fear, but you as a leader, you need to try and be above all that. That leading, whites bleeding, I think all of us are experiencing that, but with the experiences really that we have shared, for me, I think we all need to go back and say, really, to be that thoughtful leader, to be that visionary leader, what it takes. But it's a very hard balancing thing, Sis Ayanda. I believe, Prof, for me, this is the simplest topic that we have undertaken today. And for me, it covers almost all the topics that we have we've touched on, because everything that we have touched on, it will get under this topic. Then you understand the sector, you understand wherever you are, but what about that leadership, those skills that we are having? How are we sharpening them? How are we capacitating each other? It's quite a difficult thing. I know one session will never be enough when it comes to this. And it's one topic where we just need to talk and talk and talk. You take what fits you and you leave what doesn't. But really, for me, it builds quite a lot. There's so much that one will go back and reflect and say, what are the good things that we have taken out of this presentation? So thank you very much, Sis Ayanda. And I really believe one will be in touch with you even after this. It's nice even to talk just to talk over WhatsApp, over a cup of tea, over, there's so much that we can learn out of each other and all the people in the platform. Really, I think this is the best platform that we can be, just to shape and sharpen each other on the tasks that are at hands with all of us. Thank you, Prof.
Wow.
Thank you. Thanks, my sister. Thank you very much. Now let me go to my brother there, Sol Khatebe. Over to you, my brother Sol.
Greetings, Prof. Greetings, all leaders. Prof, when you look at South Africa, especially on public service is faced with financial constraints currently, day-to-day corruption, political interference, and lack of decision-making. I just want to know, as a visionary leader, how to adapt in this situation, or how to lead in these difficult times of financial constraints through corruption. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, my brother. Thank you. I'm struck in there with Limi. If you can just keep unmute there, my brother Limi. I'm trying to unmute you, and then for whatever reason you get muted. But yeah, thank you. Sis Ketiwe, over to you, sis.
Thank you, Prof, and thanks, Sis Ayanda. I found Umkaya today. Thanks for such insightful topic. It's actually quite as Sis Nomalungele has mentioned, it's a simple topic, but a very difficult one to balance. I mean, the 5 principles that you've given us, the one that I'm struggling with, maybe at a personal level, is the third one, of telling the truth. And, at the same time, you must always give hope. And in you, especially in a difficult environment, if I'm just taking the example that has just been given with the judge, that he did speak his truth. And it really was out of frustration. The country has been following this case, and with him telling his truth, to some, it does give hope to say you've got a judge who is actually standing his ground. We need to finish this case. And then on the other side, now you have somebody who's also looking on the empathetic side and saying, but he's not being empathetic to the lawyer. And how do you balance these two? Just to make sure that you actually is still are seen as a visionary leader, and you are standing your ground, you are staying on course, but balancing these two, bringing yourself into the situation and doing your best to lead, and just keeping the balance. I'm really struggling with that one. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Sis Ketiwe. Sis Ayanda, you can just respond to those, and then after that we'll take another round of questions. Thanks, colleagues. Sis Ayanda, over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Actually, the first, comment, discussion that was said by Sis Nomalungelo, that was a thought-provoking, comment, as well, in terms of, yes, you are a visionary leader. How do you balance, the two? I mean, to make sure that there are no casualties, but, as a leader, you are expected to lead, in situations that, I mean, she also made the examples, the similar, examples. And actually, that is not a discussion that you can fully ventilate, in this platform. But what I want to leave, Sis Nomalungelo and, the platform on this is that visionary leaders, they are human beings, at the end of the day. And yes, there will always be that balancing act. And when I talk of casualties, is that, you cannot nurse, the situation at the expense of the vision, because they'll come at a time where the casualty will be a negotiated casualty. When I say a negotiated casualty, there will be a time where you really, a team member will have to bow out, all in the interest of keeping, the organization, right? It's not always easy. It's not always easy. I mean, that is why, the leader, it is important to also be self-aware. I once did, a leadership assessment where I asked my team members, as an exercise, and things that that came out of there around emotional intelligence. Yes, sometimes as a human being, you lose your cool, but then, whatever feedback that you get, and sometimes really it is important as a leader that when you get the feedback, whether negative or not, it must not destroy you, and especially accept the leadership, the feedback that is given, from a better place, because there will be feedback that will be given to you maliciously. So try to navigate through that noise and take what works for you as a leader, and change it, because really some they'll be happy with your leadership, some they will not. So but it is something that really, we as leaders must also be empowered to navigate through the question. But for another for forum, which is important to say, after you have carried so much, who then carries you as a leader, as well? Because we are always, emptying ourselves, all in the best interest of the organization and driving this vision. But who then fills you up as well? So, but as Sis Nomalungelo, that was a very thought-provoking, discussion there. But I just want to go to Putsoli's question. And that's a very relevant, question as well, in terms of how do you lead as a visionary, during, in the public sector especially. And I think for me that I can relate to that, because the best part of my career, I have been in the public sector leading, SOEs, sitting in boards in, public sector, entities, where really we know that there's corruption, malfeasance, mismanagement, and there are financial constraints. And to say, how then do you keep, the vision burning, during, this time? So for me, is one of the, insight, or that I could just deposit, to the leaders is, yes, we might be going through a financial, constraints, but I will always say, set your vision that is bolder than the budget. And once you do that, you don't allow, the scarcity of resources, limit you, or rather must never then mean that then there's going to be, poverty of imagination. And as I've said, innovation, so make sure that you keep that vision, alive, because a visionary leader should always ask, what can we afford that you can do? What could be the quick wins, and so forth? Yes, a municipality might not have the full budget, to fix all the potholes, right? All the set of light or the robot. But your vision must still to say, I want to see service delivery. So what can we afford with what we have? And then try to stretch that. So that also means that one needs to be speak truth to power in terms of corruption. And you have no idea how much it costs. This nation, South Africa, even Africa, the cost of corruption. So I am not here to give the ethical, leadership, talk, but please do join us tomorrow. As Facet, we are in partnership with CIMA and AIC, in partnership with Prof. Thuli Madonsela, where we are having these talks on ethical, leadership, on ethics, compliance, and so forth. So, so for me, I would always say also in the public sector, also having been the leader here, it's always important that you lead by example. Lead by example. Yes, we might be leading, in corrupt systems, people, but people follow your behavior, people follow your conduct, not just the policies or the memos as well. So be an exemplary. Let those policies that are there, make them believed, make them live, because people don't follow policies, but people follow examples, of leaders as well. So I mean, I will make even a smallest example, and I we in the public sector, we have this thing of declaring gifts, declaring simple things like those. If you have been given flowers by a client or a part, or I mean a strategic partner, declare those. It is a policy, but as a leader, make it be practical. Let your people lead. I see you leading by example. So I will always say, keep telling the bigger story. Despite what is happening, keep telling the bigger story, because at the end of the day, we are building a country that remembers who we are. So don't be demotivated by external, factors such as corruption and so forth, but keep your visionary leadership alive. And I always say that people will know that such thing exists, and they might even want to be visionary leaders as well. So really, those are just the few, insights, around that, because as we build visionary leadership in South Africa, that means really let's keep on walking through the fire and still refuse to sell our souls. So remain that visionary. So sis, I did not take the name. The last one asked about how
That
do
was
we
his
tell the
Ketiwe.
truth? Sketiwe, yes,
Ketiwe.
yes. Oh,
Ketiwe
Swami
Bafana, yes.
ungixolela.
That's
Sis
fun.
Sketiwe ask, how do you tell, the truth as a visionary leader, and also, with empathy, balancing, the truth as well. Well, it is not that easy, but I will always say, saying the hard thing in a humane way always gets the message across. So the truth, as it hard and harsh is it is, but if it's delivered in a humane way, in an empathic way, it will land, as how it is proposed for it to land. I don't want to come up with a theory of, yeah, yes, each situation needs to be dealt with in in its own merit, as well. Because I always say visionary leaders don't just shout the truth, but they embody the truth. So that is very important because it's yeah. Probably the other scholars here could come with other insight, but it is important to say never compromise, the truth, as well as a leader, difficult as it is. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks,
And
my sister.
by the way, as I just conclude, telling the truth, it is an act of leadership. Telling the truth with empathy, though, it's also an act of love, So balancing the two, really, it is more working on, that is also the act of leadership, how then you balance the two. Thanks.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. Leadership, that is why we are here. Yeah, leadership is leadership. It's a journey.
Hey,
You'll
leadership.
never arrive. You'll never arrive. So that's why I always say, as long as we are still on this planet Earth, we just have to develop yourself and empower yourself until you go to the grave. You will never arrive. I always tell my students and my those leaders I coach that the bad news in leadership is that while we are still on this planet Earth, you can never stand on a mountaintop and say, I'm the best leader, because you fall and rise, you make mistakes, you amend, it's a journey, so it's very important that we always remember that. And I like what Sis Ida is saying: lead with respect, lead with humility, but do not compromise productivity, never compromise results. Leadership is about balancing polarities. You take extreme, another extreme, but you have to balance each other. How do you balance courage and caring? You are bold, but you still have compassion. How do you balance humility and assertiveness, so that you are humble, but you are assertive, you're still confident? How do you balance results and relationships? You are driving results, but you are building relationships. So you are not this kind of a leader or manager who will be just who's a monster, who's bully, just leading and telling people all sorts of things just because you want results. But while you do that, how do you build relationship as well? So yes, and obviously got to have empathy, but never compromise on delivery. So what Ayanda said, that if you want to be Mr. or Mrs. Nice, go and sell ice cream, because really you're not going to be liked by everyone. There are times when you're going to take tough decisions, but do that with humane. It must not just because we are just taking tough decisions for the sake of it. You don't want to be feared as a leader. You want to be respected. You don't want when you come in, everyone just running around, but you've got to be respected. Let's take Sis Andiswa there. Andiswa, over to you, Sis.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you, Sis Ayanda. My face is 2 centimeters from the screen. That's how interesting the conversation is. I'm taking quite a number of things, and one of them is that people don't follow policies; people follow examples. And it is true when we reflect in our careers and in our roles in leadership, you find a person coming to you and saying, you know what, that service provider was offering me a sheep for Christmas with my family, while I was inquiring about non-existent claims that the person is making. So it means the culture that you set at a leadership level, people can see and people can replicate that. Recently, I went to an interview, and the question was, the province you come from, we're very scared of people from that area. where do you stand in terms of corruption and your moral position? And that is where one maybe would say, oh, so there are people like me, actually, they do exist. There are people that still uphold ethics. So from there, I went back proud, because while you were speaking, they're not intimidating you, but they're Googling you. So there's a lot that could come up in that particular space, but it's just to appreciate the key take homes that we are having, to say we are correct in what we're doing. We are not, we're normal people. We're just doing the right thing. We must remain unshaken, because it can be scary. One time I advertised a position and somebody said, you talk about requirements for what? In that tone, that's intimidating, to say, you're not going to talk about requirements for this position, whatever you're thinking. So thank you so much, Sis Ayanda. Thank you so much, Prof, for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sis Andiswa.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. Thanks, Sis Andiswa. Any thoughts there, Ayanda, to what Sis Andiswa said?
You know what? I just love what you said, in terms of that you went to an interview and, there was that stereotyping or, painting, the people of that province with one brush. I like your parting statement to say you came back so proud that at least in that interview, they got to know that there is one that is not like them. So I always say, as a leader, yes, as a visionary leader, I'm reminded of this great woman that I'm just reading about, the Nobel Prize winner who have just passed on, Ume Wangari. All she got the Nobel Prize for was to plant, the trees. Just plant the trees, and the trees that, the shade that she'll never even enjoy. So what you did there, Sis Andiswa, was true leadership, because true leaders, they plant a tree that they will never ever sit under. So yeah, I just want to comment it like that, because as you were, relating the story, that we just need one leader at a time that is gonna change, the perspective, of people as well. So I am not sure, Prof, if then, that was it from my side. I'm not sure if there are any comments and questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Ayanda. Let me just check on the chat room, then I'll ask you to give us your parting shot. Mostly the chat is wow, Ayanda, wow. Read me, what an excellent lecture on visionary leadership in times of turmoil, crisis, and uncertainty. Portia, thank you. Sis Ayanda, inspired. Tandaza, great speech. Zanele, we are really encouraged by your journey, Sis Aya. Temba, wow, Ayanda, I sense the first time I saw you, you are a leader. And Tandaza, leadership is also about followership. In terms of turmoil, how do you get your followers to buy into your new vision? So that's a question there from Sis Tandaza. Gugu Makanya, thank you. Ayanda, that was very inspiring and a great lesson shared. Tempi, so very true. We need to lead from all angles. Jacqueline, oh wow, lead from angles. Angles, so true. Zama, is it possible to train someone to be a visionary leader, or is it a natural trait? So that's another question there, Sis Ayanda. Latile, thank you for this empowering session, Ayanda. Key takeout is that notwithstanding circumstances, vision remains positive, hence the importance of redefining the vision on the journey. And so, quote of the week, be careful of being liked as a leader. You are not there to sell ice cream, indeed. Tuli, very insightful. Wow. And this was so inspiring and relatable. Sis Ayanda, Busisi, where, thank you, Sis Ayanda, connected with the part of not reacting to feedback, rather respond. Okay, please can we have the link for tomorrow's session, Sis Ayanda? I like that. Keep telling a bigger story. That's Nomvula. Busisi, Prof, do you share recording from leadership session? Busisi. Truth, that's Noctuna Kwayana. Truth without grace is mean, and grace without truth is deceit. Wow. Pumi, Lutuli, I'm really full. Ngisuthi, Pumi. Usuthi. Thank you, leaders. Wow, a great session. Joyce, Prof, do you have a recording for this session? There's another one, Joyce. I know Sis Joyce. I know everyone here, sorry. Andy, so thank you so much for such an insightful Siswezi. Thanks, Ayanda, for an inspiring presentation.
Wow.
Million truth to power is key. So just before Sis Ayanda respond, those colleagues who are asking about recordings, we've got a YouTube channel. So if you can just please subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll get all our videos there. Even tonight's one will be posted there, and then we'll even actually check the previous ones, the one that you may not have attended. But we are not saying people must not attend the platform just because they know that they will go to the channel. No, I mean, do attend, and then, but we do have that YouTube channel just for referencing. It's important just to see who said what. All the speeches or the speakers that we've had previously are there. Even this one, you'll also get it. So I see you will respond to the questions there, Sis Anne. But I wanted to check this. There was a hand. Where's the hand now? Who was? There was a hand that I wanted to acknowledge before. Have we lost this colleague? It seems like we've lost.
I saw a hand from
Yeah,
Tulisile.
Tulisile. Yes. How, Sis Tuli, what are you doing? So let me text Sis Tulisile, and then you'll respond to her and also to the colleagues from the chat room. And then after that, you'll give us your parting shot, Sis Anne. Sis Tulisile, over to you.
Good afternoon, Professor Mazwe. Good afternoon, Sis Ayanda.
Sis Tuli.
Yeah, but in Ufunduzufe. And what I'm grateful about, it's people like you, Ayanda, for paving the way for us. Siyanbona, and it's really deep. My question is, as a visionary leader and a woman, precisely a Black woman, the vulnerability when you have to look at the mirror at the front, on the side, at the back, like I have to be honest, it's something that it runs deep to me personally as a Black woman, to say, like, in your personal space, like, how do you deal with that? Because it becomes really lonely. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank
go ahead,
you.
Sis Ayanda.
No, thank you. Sis Tulisile. There were just two questions, prior to Sis Tulisile's hand, and I think I had just touched on them, before, as I was just, responding to some of the questions. And I think the similar question, it is linked to your first question, Ndabezitha, that you asked in terms of, visionary leaders born, or is it a natural trait, or how do you teach? But I think the question was along those lines. There are different schools of thought, but my belief, and I am of the belief that leaders are and are not just born. Leaders are made. As a leader, you learn as you go along, as well. And actually, someone even said, Dr. Miles Monroe, really, we were all born with a spirit of leadership. But it is, in a journey, through the journey that we unleash, that leadership potential, or we unleash that, spirit of leadership. So that is why leaders are day-to-day students. We are learning, we are getting empowered. If really we were all born leaders, or we had those traits, so we wouldn't even be seated in this platform where we are learning, about principles of leadership and so forth. So I want to assure, I think that was Zama or Andy, so that might have asked that question, that yes, it is not a natural trait per se, but it is something that you learn as you go along the way. Uthulisile touched on a very important, aspect, and it is something that one also just fresh from the fellowship, it was a fellowship of women. So the topic, or the aspect of being vulnerable, came out. But my key takeaway, from that is vulnerability is your strength as a leader. But also what is important is where you display that vulnerability, because you must also have a safe space to be able, or to display that vulnerability. Leaders are human beings, at the end of the day. Yes, we know that, the up, they say it is cold out there, it is lonely up there as well, but it does not have to be. And I'm saying this because, one, we have networks, we have communities of leaders in this platform. Sometimes you might not be comfortable to be vulnerable with your colleagues. And even if you are vulnerable, obviously, there should be boundaries there and there, because they must know that you're a human being, but never mistake vulnerability as a sign of weakness. But I will advise and recommend that if, in safe spaces like this, where you can ask a question, where you could even be vulnerable to say, scholars, leaders, I am going through this, in my leadership space. How do I tackle this? And how, so I mean, I mean that was also what we were, struggling about. But they are, platforms, and never shine away from being vulnerable. But make sure that you've got a safer space then where you can be vulnerable. A leader should not be lonely. Reach out to the, as well. Find time where, you are able to, to address that loneliness. At instances, I mean, I was sharing with the team that, you will go to a strategic session, and I will joke and say, I just wish that I had done drama at school. And those are the realities of a leader, especially women, where there are those subtle prejudices where, you are undermined a bit there and there. So you go to a strategic, session where you will speak your mind, and there'll be those robust conversation to a point where you feel really attacked, feel undermined. Continue after a break. During the break, go to the bathroom and cry, but make sure that you have your foundation and your powder. Cry, then come back and powder yourself, and because you cannot not to be vulnerable because you are a human being. So it is how you display that vulnerability as well in the safer spaces. So I shall pause there because I'm also cognizant of the time. But I just want to leave you with this, just to sum out what I have said. Visionary leadership during the time of turmoil. So I just want to remind you that don't feel discouraged in times of crisis, because in times of crisis, titles crumble, yes, but vision will remain. And turmoil doesn't kill your vision. Instead, it clarifies it. So don't be scared to go through those. Leadership is tested, and that's where you even get more clarity. I thank you.
Thank you very much, my sister. Thank you, Sis Ayanda, for your insightful, impactful, informative, and very thought-provoking presentation. You've learned a lot. You've moved us. You inspired us. We need something like this. We needed something like this as leaders, where you can, as a leader, just touch your hearts. Sometimes, yes, because we are learned, we are leaders, we are scholars, we do touch the heads or the minds, but there's just time where you must just touch another person's heart as you inspire that person. So we've learned a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, please do check, as I said, check our video channel or YouTube channel, and do subscribe there so that you can get that to what is it called, but that ring whenever there's new material that is posted. So be there. Thank you so much for empowering us, Sis Ayanda. Thank you so much. I know that, as I said earlier on, you're a very busy person. You've just came back from Harvard University, so you must have been very, very tired, still recovering. But thank you for honoring us and for respecting us as well, and in this platform. As I said earlier on, it's not your first time. You've really engaged and supported Walt many times, and participated in many of our conferences and our sessions. So yeah, we've learned a lot from you. So next time, or in a very near future, when we come back and knocking, and please, you've seen what you've done tonight. So if you said, please come back, do remember that, Sis Ayanda. Ladies and gentlemen, to those who joined us for the first time, thank you once again for attending. Please do remember, we meet every Wednesdays. Next week, Wednesday, we'll be here again. Same time, same places, same details, same login, same everything. So yeah, we'll be having another powerful speaker, another presentation or another session, as we always do. Also, Ayanda, I don't know if that was answered. They did ask the link for tomorrow's for the facet tomorrow's session on ethical leadership. I don't know, was it posted on the chat room, or is what is the best way for people to join tomorrow?
Can I just let me just quickly check if my okay, so I'll just make a plan, maybe just to send it through to you, but it is on our social media platform at Facet, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn, we're on X. Though I am not a fan of Twitter, but those that are on Twitter, yeah, or even Instagram as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. So it's there. Those who want to
Yes.
attend tomorrow, you'll find it
Yes.
there in the social media. You
Thank
can
you.
attend.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The session is adjourned now until we meet again next week, Wednesday. May God bless you, and may God bless Africa. Thank you. Till we meet again next week. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Bye.